Administrations from both sides of the aisle have spoken about the challenges they face on our borders and the obstacles to immigration and border security reform.
Not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more, by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before.
Past efforts of reform did not do enough to secure our nation's borders. As a result, many people have been able to sneak in to this country. If you don't man your borders and don't protect your borders, people are going to sneak in.
We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked, and circumventing the line of people who are waiting patiently, diligently, and lawfully to become immigrants in this country.
President Trump's campaign was largely built on a promise of strong immigration reform. And his promise came at a crucial time. Here is U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Kevin McAleenan testifying before Congress on human smuggling at the southern border just last month.
These numbers reflect the highest level of illegal apprehensions of any February in over a decade. In total, we saw more than 76,000 apprehensions and inadmissible arrivals. And within that number, in just 4 weeks, we saw 40,385 members of family units and 7,250 unaccompanied children.
Many on the left refuse to acknowledge that this is a real problem that requires immediate action. But listen to what Jeh Johnson, President Barack Obama's last Secretary of Homeland Security, had to say just this month, even when HBO's Vice News tried to push back on his remarks.
The president actually tweeted about your TV appearance.
Well, I said that 4,000 arrests on our southern border, 100,000 in a month, is truly a crisis. I then went on to, in the same interview, prescribe all the things that I think should be done to deal with the crisis and what we seem to be doing wrong. The one sentence, "it is truly a crisis," quote unquote, basically went viral.
And the reason for this, of course, is that people in the administration, the president himself and his allies, basically say, see, even the Obama guy says it's a crisis. You have to believe us now.
Well, 4,000 in a day, 100,000 in a month, by any measure, by any definition, is a crisis. The fact that people at those levels are leaving those countries, it's a crisis in terms of our border personnel's ability to handle it and process all those people. And it's a crisis in terms of the communities along the border that have to somehow absorb those numbers.
So here we are. Despite a marathon debate on immigration and border security that has lasted more than a decade, seemingly agreeing that there is a problem, and Congress has still failed to come together and address these issues in a way that will keep America free, safe, and prosperous. In the meantime, President Trump has been forced to do something, anything, and has floated a number of options. Today, we explain some of the ideas that he's put on the table so far, like closing the border, for example, and also some policy prescriptions on how to move the country and Congress forward on this important issue. Helping us break it down is Dr. James J. Carafano, a leading expert in national security and foreign policy challenges, and Vice President of Heritage's Catherine and Shelby Cullum Davis Institute for National Security and Foreign Policy and the E.W. Richardson Fellow. Jim, to start, I don't think I need to ask you if there is a crisis at the border. I think and I hope that everyone understands that there is. But just in case, can you explain what makes this wave of immigration different than what past administrations have seen?
Well, that is really the most important question. And I think if you haven't been following this issue for 10 or 15 years every day, you might miss this like, well, what's the big deal? People are crossing the border. Here's what's changed. Because of several court orders and policies from the last administration,